Welcome to the Thought Snob Podcast. I'm Paula Swope. Let's get snobby. Why do we keep repeating the same lessons? That's what today's episode is about. Have you ever noticed that the faces change, but the lesson stays the same? Maybe you've dated 3 different people who all made you feel unappreciated. Maybe you've had 3 different bosses who seemed controlling. I went through this with female bosses for a very long time. Or maybe, you've sworn, I'll never end up in this situation again, only to find yourself right back where you started. So why does that happen? Is the universe trying to tell you something? Or is there another explanation? Astrologers believe we choose to learn certain lessons before we come here. And that sounds outlandish, but I won't discount that theory because I don't know anything for sure. And if you're alive, you don't know anything for sure either. So let's explore this a bit. Psychology tells us that our brains are incredibly efficient. Once we develop a belief about ourselves or the world, especially in childhood, our brains begin looking for evidence that confirms it. Now, if deep down you believe you're not enough, you may unconsciously gravitate toward relationships that reinforce that belief. Not because you want to suffer, but because your brain is wired to recognize what's familiar. Familiar feels safe, even when it isn't healthy. Astrology offers a fascinating perspective. Your natal chart isn't a sentence. It's a syllabus. A syllabus doesn't tell you whether you'll pass or fail a class. It tells you what you'll be learning, right? Your chart works the same way. Maybe Saturn is asking you to learn healthy boundaries. Maybe Uranus is teaching you how to let go or forcing you to let go of what you don't need. And, maybe Chiron points to a wound that once healed becomes your greatest gift to others and to yourself. The lesson doesn't disappear just because we don't like it. It tends to repeat until we respond differently. And that's the key. The universe isn't trying to punish you. It's trying to graduate you. So think about school. If you fail Algebra 1, your school doesn't just, shrug and hand you calculus. You repeat algebra until you've mastered the material. Life often works the same way. The circumstances may look different, but the underlying lesson keeps showing up until you demonstrate that you've grown beyond your old patterns. This is where people sometimes misunderstand astrology. They think astrology predicts events, and I don't think that's the most powerful way to use it. You can predict events, sure, but astrology is so much more than that. It reveals themes, and how those themes unfold depends on your choices. 2 people can experience the exact same Saturn transit, but one loses a job and discovers a career they love. The other ignores every warning sign and repeats the same mistakes, but it's the same planetary energy, completely different outcome. So the difference between those 2 types of people is awareness. Is awareness present or is it not? And, here's a question that I encourage you to ask yourself. What situation keeps showing up in my life wearing different clothes? Don't focus on the people. Don't focus on the circumstances. Look for the pattern. Are you always overgiving, always rescuing, always being the bigger person? Always afraid to speak up? Are you overlooked? Do you always choose certainty over growth? Do you avoid pain and choose pleasure every time? Okay? Patterns are powerful because they reveal the lesson hiding underneath. And here's the encouraging part. Once you truly learn the lesson, life stops teaching it in the same painful way. You don't attract healthier relationships because you got lucky. You attract them because you become healthier, okay? You don't suddenly find better opportunities because the planets decided to reward you. You notice and create better opportunities because you've become a different version of yourself. That's real transformation. So the next time you find yourself saying, why does this always happen to me? Try asking a different question. What is this trying to teach me that I haven't fully learned yet? And that single question can completely change how you experience life's challenges. Maybe the lesson isn't repeating because you're failing. Maybe it's repeating because you're closer than you think to finally understanding it. Anytime I've walked away from an old pattern, I was rewarded almost immediately. I went through a cycle of toxic female bosses for about 20 years. And I was submissive. I felt like they were smarter, better, and I thought I needed them for my material security. No, that's not what I needed those women for. I needed them to force me into who I really wanted to be and who I was supposed to be. And who I really wanted to be and who I was supposed to be was a confident, assertive person with autonomy running her own damn show. Now, I know those women were some of my greatest teachers. I know some of those women were my greatest teachers. Without the humiliation, trauma, and endless suppressed anger, I'm not sure I would have crawled out of my Pisces moon shell. So, that's all I have for you today. I appreciate you listening to the Thought Snob podcast. If this episode made you think of a recurring pattern in your own life, I'd love to hear about it. And if you know someone who's feeling stuck in the same cycle, send this episode their way. Until the next time, stay curious and keep learning the lessons life is offering.
The Thought Snob podcast with Paula Swope has been brought to you by Thought Snob Media in association with Special Purpose Studios. All production, mixing, and sound engineering by me, Will Swope. We hope you've enjoyed this podcast. Please take a few seconds to give us 5 stars and leave a review. See you on the next Thought Snob podcast with Paula Swope.